Jennifer, thanks so much. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner getting ready to update us on the response to Harvey. He's at the Harris County Office of Emergency Management. Let's listen in.
Okay, I want to give everyone kind of like an update on where things are. Let me just first say that with regards to City of Houston employees, I'm going to delay City of Houston employees returning to work now instead of Wednesday. It will be Thursday, and we will take it day by day. I am asking City of Houston employees, and the notice is going out, that working at these shelters will work as well. I'm encouraging city employees if they can get in safely, working at the shelters would be very, very much appreciated. We need their assistance. But in terms of returning to work, we will continue to operate with just essential personnel through tomorrow. We are still planning on having our regular city council meeting on tomorrow. That will take place, but only essential personnel. With respect to shelters, of course, at the George R. Brown now, we have expanded our capacity. Initially, we had capped it at 5,000. We are now have gone beyond 9,000. We are looking for other shelter locations. In fact, we have identified a couple of other mega shelters locations. I'm not going to announce it right at this time, but that announcement will be forthcoming. I want them to get set up first, and then I'll be meeting also with County Judge Ed Emmett sometime around 12:30, where we'll make a joint announcement with respect to an additional shelter. But there are additional shelters that are going to be set up. The reality is that not only are we providing shelter for Houstonians, but we are also providing shelters for people who are coming outside the city of Houston, who have been directly impacted by the storm. We're not turning anyone away, but it does mean that we need to expand our capabilities and our capacity. In that regard, we've certainly made the official request to FEMA. We need additional assistance, and so we've asked them to provide supplies and cots, food for an additional 10,000 individuals. And hopefully those supplies will get here as soon as possible. At the latest, we hope no later than sometime tomorrow. If before then, it certainly is needed even before then. But we are asking for an additional 10,000. Quite frankly, in many ways, the city of Houston, Harris County is serving more of also as a kind of like a regional sort of hub. So we not only are taking care of people from the city of Houston, but we are also accommodating people who are coming in from other areas. So additional announcement on the shelters will be forthcoming, probably in the next few hours. We just need them to set up. Yesterday the focus was on rescue. Today will continue to be on rescue. That's critical, and that's and that's important. And so let me first call on Chief Acevedo, and he can give you an update on rescues and other related matters as it relates to law enforcement. Chief Acevedo.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. Overnight, the Houston Police Department continued to operate throughout the city, conducting search and rescue. Our rescues of the last count was well over 3,500 folks have been rescued. We've also, again, it's really important for the community to know that we're not just in a search and rescue mode. We're still in a law enforcement and public safety mode. Last night we actually had some arrests made of a crew that was robbing members of our community. Our officers heard about it. They deployed in heavy rain. They found them. They went in pursuit. And all of those suspects were taken into custody. And here's what I like to say to people that would take advantage of individuals. This is the state of Texas, and we're a welcoming city. But we are not going to tolerate people victimizing, especially committing armed robberies of our community. We're going to catch you, and I promise you this. We are going to push hard. I've talked to the district attorney to seek the fullest, two things, the fullest prosecution possible available for any crime that's committed, And secondly, we're going to urge juries and judges to give you the most toughest sentence that you can possibly get. So word to the wise, don't come to Houston because you're going to be caught. And I guarantee you, when you take advantage, including our own criminal element here, you take advantage of people and prey on them on these circumstances, that's despicable behavior. And we're all going to push hard to make sure you don't see the sunlight anytime soon. So we've got armed robbers last night, in the middle of the night, and we also got more looters, a handful of looters at a GameStop last night. And Chief Satterwhite, who's the chief that's been here, helped catch 3 of them. So it's just, it's all hands on deck. We're fully operational. We have resources coming throughout the state of Texas from other major cities. They are already in the AOR. We're beginning to task them. We're beginning to give them specific missions. They will be doing 2 things. First, they will be conducting security at some of our locations where we have evacuees. And secondly, they will be relieving some of our officers in the near future. We will not be reducing our posture. Our officers continue to sleep in the stations. They will be continuing to sleep in these stations throughout the response phase. We are still in the response phase, and we probably will not be moving towards recovery for a matter of a couple more days. So our officers will not be going home. We've had 160 of our families that we know so far that have been impacted, and I can't speak enough about not just the police officers and the firefighters, but all of our city employees that this mayor leads, that no one has left their post. They're out doing their job. And so we're fully functional. We're still trying to get to folks. And again, like we said yesterday, don't give up on us. Seek the higher ground. We will get to you. We have assets. At every passing hour, more boats are getting into the water. Every passing hour, more high water rescue vehicles have come into the theater. And please know, one of the delays has been, this is a catastrophic event that I don't think we've seen, when the Weather Channel starts creating a new color for rainfall. They've never used that color before. There's a reason they've used it. And so for all the Monday morning quarterbacking out there, you can't talk about hindsight, because there is no hindsight in terms of an event that's never occurred. And so with that, just know that these relief convoys have been stuck because of all the inaccessible road, but we're starting to get them all in, and I think we're in good shape moving forward.
Thanks, Chief. I certainly want to thank other cities. Mayor Price from Fort Worth, for example, sending down 100 police officers, talked with her on yesterday. We want to thank the city of Fort Worth. Of course, Dallas, Mayor Rollins, of course, they have set up to house up to about 8,000 individuals who are coming from the surrounding areas, the surrounding counties like Galveston and others. And so I want to thank them. Mayor Alley in Austin is also setting up to receive people from the region. And so I want to acknowledge him. And then the mayor of San Antonio has also extended his hand. So we want to thank all of our partners, mayors and other cities throughout the area and throughout the country for their support. Let me also now call on them, Fire Chief Sam Pena for the status report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. So, as of midnight tonight, the Houston Fire Department has responded to over 1,000 calls for service. Over 400 of those have been water rescues or water-related incidents. We've augmented our deployment teams, our boat teams, with members from the Texas Task Force 1, as well as the FEMA USAR teams. We keep, as resources arrive on scene, we deploy them to one of 8 area commands. Firefighters, as well as police officers, have been working tirelessly since this event began 3 days ago. We have some crews that are going on their 3rd day in a row. So we've implemented certain things to ensure that our firefighters are receiving the appropriate rest and nourishment. And what I've directed staff to do is to go ahead and establish operational periods. And there'll be some periods where we have less firefighters in the game, so to speak, because they are placed out of service to rest for a few hours, and then brought back in, and we're rotating crews that way. It's difficult for us to bring in 800 individuals to replace the people that are on duty, because in a lot of areas we can't get in and out of the fire stations, so we can't deploy them, to where we need them with their equipment, and that's logistically that's an issue we're having to deal with. But based on the command staff recommendation, we've decided to manage what the resources that we have on scene, and as we're able to bring in fresh crews from off duty, we're doing so. But our operational profile remains the same. We are in a rescue phase at this point. We'll continue to do so until we've ensured that we've serviced every call for rescue that's come into the 911 center. Thank you.
An added note on rescues, and that is Kingwood would be a focal point for today. We will continue to work on all of the areas, but Kingwood will be a focal point because there's more water that's coming into the area. So in terms of water rescues in the Kingwood area, we are focusing on the area called the Enclave, which is an area with primarily one-story houses in that area. And so water rescues are taking place at the Enclave, Barrington in Kingwood, Royal Shores in Kingwood, which is closest to Lake Houston, as well as Forest Gardens. The water rescues are out there. I know the fire department and the police department are sending additional assets in that area to the people in Kingwood, and they are being taken to Creekwood Middle School, which is a Red Cross, we call Lily Pad, to get them out of that area for now. The next 24 hours, I think, for the Kingwood area is going to be very important to see how the water continues to flow. But we are watching that area very carefully, and I'm working very closely with Councilmember Dave Martin in the Kingwood area. But again, water rescues are taking place in Kingwood at the Enclave, Barrington, Royal Shores, and Forest Gardens. And they have been taken to Creekwood Middle School as a holding place for right now. We're watching that area. All of the areas within the city of Houston we're focusing on, whether it's this area, whether it's in the inner city itself, Spring Branch area, down in the Clear Lake on the south side, all the areas. A lot of our resources are all over the city. And so I certainly want to thank, again, the first responders, police, and fire for being out there 24/7. Not just during the daytime, but some of the most hazardous conditions happen to be at night. And we are telling all Houstonians to stay off the street. I'm going to continue to ask all Houstonians to stay off the street. But I want to underscore this. I'm asking all Houstonians to stay off the street. But our first responders are on the streets. And they are on the street at night in very treacherous situations. And so I cannot say enough for them that are working around the clock. I want to give you an update on the Northeast Water Plant, since that's very important to the city and to areas, communities that are supplied clean water by that plant. Jeff, you want to come in and give us an update?
Crews have continued working at the plant. The water plant is operating. Houston's water is safe, and we don't expect any change in that situation.
Thanks. And I appreciate Public Works support on that effort. A lot of conversation in reference to Addicts and Barker Reservoir. We indicated on yesterday that they were raising their release level from where it was yesterday, 5,000 cubic feet per second, up to 8,000 gradually, and I think they have reached that point. But I want Steve, if you will come and kind of bring us up to date on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. This morning we were advised by the Corps of Engineers that the Addicts Dam will have some what we call uncontrolled release rates starting this morning. Basically, the ponding levels in the dam have exceeded the elevation at the tail, which is north end between Clay Road and Tanner. That uncontrolled release rate will continue through probably September 20th to some degree of level peaking out at some time during August 31st in about 2 days. We are in close contact with the Corps of Engineers as well as with Harris County Flood Control District to get a better understanding of where that overflow is going to meander through, what neighborhoods. We anticipate it'll be confined within the areas just west of Beltway 8, between the reservoir and Beltway 8, and the north side would be Tanner and the south side would be I-10. So we'll have a better handle as we move forward. We just want to make sure that we put the communities on notice to be mindful of what's going on in that area. And so, again, we're in close contact with flood control, and also we've been advised also that Barker Reservoir will have some overflow as well, to a much lesser degree, but both reminding everybody that both reservoirs flow into Buffalo Bayou. And what flood control has said to us is if you're looking at a floodplain map of Buffalo Bayou, the flooding that's been occurring is right around the 500-year floodplain level, and they anticipate that that's about what it's going to be as we move forward, even with these overflows in the future. So if you have any other questions relative to that, I'd be happy to answer them later on. Thank you.
If you'll speak to the water level in the Kingwood area as well.
Yes, so we had another discussion with flood control about what's going on at the West Fork of the San Jacinto River. We were advised by the San Jacinto River Authority that they have started to decrease their discharges out of Lake Conroe. They have leveled off. The flooding on the West Fork of the San Jacinto, which is the south part of Kingwood, has not yet peaked, and it's about a half a foot above the 500-year floodplain. And so we're just trying to make sure that we monitor that as we move forward. Flood control is again monitoring those, and we anticipate getting some additional information from them as we move forward the next couple of days.
Okay, so we're monitoring very carefully those two areas from Kingwood into the areas that will be impacted by the release of water from the Addicks and Barker Dam. And as a precaution, we are looking at setting up an additional shelter in the on the west side of Houston. And I'll make that announcement sometime today as well as a necessary precaution. What I will say to people throughout the city of Houston is that please be alert. Please be on notice. The situation still remains dynamic and will be dynamic throughout the next 24 hours. But we are monitoring the situation carefully. If, based on the modeling and things that we see, if we think there's going to be additional flooding, for example, in these areas, we will quickly advise you and then recommend a course of action. So just be on notice. Things are dynamic. We're trying to get more specific, detailed information as, for example, what the release means. Coming from these from Addicks and Barker, and so but we want to stay on top of that, and we'll advise you accordingly. I think those are all the things that I intended to recover. The outages remain, Floyd?
Yes, sir.
You want to just cover that?
Thank you, Mayor. CenterPoint Energy continues to have about 100,000 customers without electric service. The flood is a challenge in terms of getting crews to where repairs are needed. Over the last 24 hours, our crews restored service to 240,000 customers, yet we still have 100,000 customers without service. As fast as we get them on, we're losing additional customers. Since Harvey hit on Friday, 580,000 customers have been restored. At this point, 96% of the customers in the area have electric service, but the ones who don't, we want you to know you're a priority for us, and as conditions allow, we will be getting that service back on. And one final point, families help families and neighbors help neighbors. If you've been without service and you know people who have electric service and you need access to that, please help each other. Thank you.
I want to underscore, this is a storm of historic proportions, not just to the city of Houston and not just to the Harris County, but to the entire region. The city of Houston is serving as a hub center, if I can use that, not just for the people of Houston, but the people that are in the area. And so, for example, at the George R. Brown, we have not turned anyone away. And, there are many people at the George R. Brown that are coming from outside of the city of Houston. The point is they're in a point of need, and we will be there for them. That is also one of the reasons why we are going to be opening up 2, possibly 3 additional shelters to accommodate the need. Because there's certain areas, for example, are ordered to evacuate outside of the city of Houston. They have to go somewhere, okay? And so we're making ourselves available to address those concerns. We want to make sure that we're not overlooking or missing anybody in the city. Okay, especially people who are seniors, people who are disabled, people who are in low-income communities. If you know of individuals, or if you think individuals especially when it comes to seniors and other disabled, that may be living in neighborhoods that have flooded and they're there by themselves or they're needing to be rescued, please continue to let us know. Any life-threatening situations, please let us know and continue to use 911. I'm going to ask you again for this day to stay off the roads because there are many roads that are still not impassable. My hope is that once we get past the next, let's say, 24 hours, that the situation in the city of Houston weather-wise will significantly improve. But until then, let's just continue to be very careful in terms of our mobility in the city of Houston, and let's continue to meet the needs of Houstonians that find themselves in a very stressful crisis situation. Any questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question about reports of a Houston police officer succumbing, drowning after a vehicle struck in high water.
I've heard those reports, and we are taking a look at it, and I don't have anything to tell you at this time.
Chief,
I don't have anything to add.
Hey, Chief, can you expound on your tweet that you sent out a few hours ago about the disruption of water supplies? Is there a chance, your tweet about the water supplies from earlier, you sent out a tweet in case of disruption of water supplies on a bathtub full of water. Is there a chance of...
Like they say, that the water's in good shape. We don't anticipate it to go down, but always hope for the best and prepare for any disruption. That's all that is.
Chief, any implementation of curfews at this point?
Not at this time, but as soon as we go into recovery phase or we see a need for that, we will assess at that time.
Well, you're at the podium. Some of the things that we are hearing from families at the George R. Brown is they haven't turned anyone away. It's thousands of people at this point. They're hearing homeless and other sorts of people are mixed in with family members. Some of those families are now concerned about their safety. When you're dealing with mass amounts of people at these shelters, Mayor, can you speak a little bit about what you're doing to keep everyone safe?
Well, the job is to keep everyone safe, every human being safe. The doors have been opened to anybody that has been out into the elements. But what I will say to you is that we are opening the doors and opening these shelters to get people out of inclement conditions. But we expect everyone to be orderly and well behaved. We do not, and we are not going to tolerate any activity that's criminal in nature or that is disruptive. Okay, so the shelters are to assist people in coming out of the elements, coming out of a crisis state, stabilizing their situation. But if there's anybody that's engaging in any activity that works against that, then those individuals will be ejected. So you recognize the importance and the reason they're there, but if there's anything that makes it even uncomfortable in terms of any sort of criminal activity or bad behavior, those people will not be welcome at the shelters.
Mayor, while we're talking about the GRB,
sure.
Capacity nearly doubled from 5,000 to 10,000 folks.
It has.
At what point will you have to turn people away?
Let's put it this way. We are not going to turn anybody away from shelters. We are going to make alternatives. We are going to provide additional options available.
So how close are